Don't be fooled. Trudeau didn't actually resign. Now, and to make sure he couldn't be fired, he got the Governor General to dissolve Parliament at least until March 24th. So on March 24th, the Parliament will resume, and maybe they will be able to vote non-confidence in him.
Trudeau pulls a fast one, doesn't really resign in desperate bid to maintain his party's control. I mean, how do we, this is so bad, how do we quantify it?
I wouldn't even say his party's control, his personal control. He has a disdain even for his own members of parliament, just like his father did. Remember his father, Pierre Trudeau, who was a Marxist also, an anti-American, pro-Cuba Marxist. You got to remember that Justin Trudeau comes by his communism, honestly. He inherited from his father. During the Cold War, Pierre Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada for 16 years, was always a thorn in the side. He took his kids to Siberia during the Soviet Union and said, this is the future. Justin Trudeau and his brother, Alexandre, who's his foreign policy advisor, they love communist China.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fastest. We need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted. That I find quite interesting.
I found it a bit silly for Justin Trudeau to say that what he admired the most was a dictatorship, frankly. I've always been rather fond of democracies.
The government fears Alex Jones, who has the largest audience in the country, bigger than any of the networks, the biggest megaphone in the country.
The deep state hates Alex Jones with a vengeance.
Alex Jones is the most extraordinary person I've ever met.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I've explained 1,000 times or more in the last few decades, whether you're in America or Germany or Russia or South Africa or Australia or Mexico or Brazil or Greenland or Libya, whether you're in Israel or Turkey, whether you are in the Netherlands or whether you are in India or China, you need to care about the rest of the world because it affects you. If space aliens, God forbid, it's hypothetical, showed up next Tuesday and vaporized Moscow or obliterated Los Angeles, everybody else in the rest of the world would be concerned because they have empathy. They're nice people on average, but even the sociopaths would be really concerned because, well, obviously we're next. So when you see Klaus Schwab, the corporate arm of the UN globalist death cult, that's what they are, the post-industrial world dehumanist eugenics cult, saying Trudeau, the outgoing leader of Canada, is the greatest example of what they want and how they penetrate the cabinets. He penetrates half the cabinets. As he said a few years ago at the Kennedy Center with David Gergen. When their minions all over the world go down, like Keir Starmer, I predict within 30 days will be gone. AFD gone the next year. Takes a while with their parliament system. I mean, AFD will get rid of the current system, and it'll be an ongoing fight after that. But AFD gone from obscurity to preeminence. The alternative Deutschland. I told you all this was happening, and I told Elon Musk and Trump on air and off air that you must go on offensive against the pedophile rings that are in the intelligence networks. You must bring that down. That's how you bring them down, because they'll keep attacking you and us and starting wars and all the rest of it until we've obliterated them. And Musk has been attacking them for a while. So has Trump. Tom Homan's coming in. The borders are. They're going after even the administration for the criminal smuggling. Mayorkas, all of them. And notice when he really turned the heat up and showed that Starmer, on record for 15 years as the CPS head, covered up to 1 million children being raped by Islamic grooming, rape, sex slavery operations. and that a lot of other sectors and the British establishment are involved in it. They just use the Muslims as their grassroots procurers and pimps, that's the Achilles heel of these people, and it's the right thing to do. And now it's all happening. And so Starmer has his spokespersons come out and say, well, we'll just leave our special relationship and not have a military and intelligence system with the United States. They're not going to do that. They need us 1,000 times more than we need them. But the point is, that is the panic button being hit. We cannot be merciful with the globalists politically because they're not going to stop. They've got to be removed. We have to dislodge them, and we are. And you've got Zuckerberg saying, oh, I'm going to be like Elon. I'm going to bring in community notes. I'm sorry for all this ownership. I told him he better capitulate 6 months ago, and he started the process. Jeff Bezos, all of them, at least publicly, because the Great Awakening's here. The new Renaissance is here. We've turned the tide. We have the initiative. And Trudeau is the first big domino. And now it's accelerating. Instead of the EU trying to indict Musk and all their billion-dollar fines, now where are they? In panic mode, all coming to Keir Starmer's aid. With fear in their eyes, because they should be afraid. They pushed the lockdowns, the poison shots. Van der Leyden, the head of the unelected EU Commission, got all that money from Pfizer. It's all criminal. So Ezra Levant, an incredible journalist in Canada, but also worldwide from Rebel News. Be sure to follow him on X. We'll put it all on screen. Joins us to break down what's happened to Trudeau, his accurate predictions he'd be gone by early January, and then the fight of who they'll try to replace him with and how big this is historically. Here's the clip, though, of the resignation being announced by the man-child, the globalist protege, the golden boy of the New World Order, Trudeau, yesterday morning.
I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the president of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election. Mes chers amis, comme vous savez, je suis un fighter.
He did not step down. They said they would remove him this week if he did not do that. So I think it's important with all this huge news to give me the floor here, Ezra Levant. But first, I want you to talk about just a snapshot. I know it's hard because there's so much of the type of tyrant, why he's the model of the globalist, what he's done to Canada, and the crimes he's committed so that people understand what we're facing. Because what has been done to the UK, what's been done to Germany, what's been done to Canada, they admit is the model for everyone else. Ezra Levant.
Great to be back on the show. By the way, it's great to see you looking so fit and energetic again, my friend, and congratulations on your recent successes. Let's talk about Trudeau. You saw his announcement. When I first heard it, I thought, oh, he's resigning, but no. He says he'll resign sometime in the future. What he really did was ask the Governor General of Canada, that's the King's representative in Canada. Remember, Canada is still a parliamentary democracy, to dissolve the parliament. They were going to vote tomorrow to sack him. He preempted that by saying to the Governor General, dissolve parliament so the MPs, the members of parliament, can't get together to vote non-confidence in me. So he's actually ruling by executive order now, almost like he's ruling by decree. There will be a leadership vote in the Liberal Party of Canada sometime in the future. We don't know exactly when. But let me tell you a shocking fact about that, Alex. The Liberal Party of Canada, who will elect Trudeau's successor, and that person will become prime minister right away before there's even a general election. They allow foreign citizens to vote. They allow people as young as 14 years old to vote. So our version of the CIA, it's called CSIS, discovered that in the last Canadian election, there were 11 electoral districts where there was foreign interference that made a difference. In one case, the People's Republic of China bussed in foreign nationals into a primary nomination, selected a pro-Communist Party candidate who then went on to become a member of parliament. So when you allow foreign nationals to vote as young as 14 years old, that's going to be gamed by foreign actors, whether it's Iran or China. So that's something to watch for. Who will succeed Trudeau? You asked me another question. Let me answer it really quickly. You said, why is Trudeau so bad? Well, I got a lot of reasons. Number one, as you already alluded to, he was a big World Economic Forum man. Klaus Schwab boasted that half of the members of Trudeau's cabinet were part of the WEF. It's true. In fact, the number two under Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, to this day, she's on the board of directors of the World Economic Forum. Her name is Chrystia Freeland. She was actually, before she got into politics, she was the authorized biographer of George Soros. So Trudeau has been one of the worst globalists in the world. He's opened up mass immigration. You think you have mass immigration in the US, Alex? We have proportionately even more, but it's being, quote, legal. Trudeau's just let them in. And I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, I'm sure you do remember, it was the whole world saw it, when Trudeau was going very authoritarian during the lockdowns, when he had a no-fly list, you couldn't get on a plane if you weren't jabbed, when he was cracking down on people viciously, you had to download a digital ID app even to travel in and out of the country. A group of truckers said this has gone too far, and they started a trucker convoy to Ottawa just to park and honk their horns. It was amazing. The whole country was inspired. Trudeau hated it. He tried to graft on that January 6th insurrection narrative that the American Democrats had used, but the truckers didn't cooperate with that. They were exemplary. They had hot tubs and bouncy castles, and they were waving the flag and singing the anthem. So Trudeau panicked. He pushed the panic button and he invoked martial law using something called the Emergencies Act. For the first time in Canadian history, we didn't even use that law during 9/11. Trudeau deployed riot horses to stomp on the peaceful protesters. He seized hundreds of bank accounts of peaceful protesters with no legal process. It was truly a mask drop moment, and people wonder if Trudeau is the son of Fidel Castro. I don't know if he is genetically, but I tell you, morally, they're identical. Trudeau is a tyrant, and he tried to crush peaceful protesters. So thankfully, Canadians have woken up after nearly 10 years of the man. And you can see he doesn't want to leave the stage. So he didn't actually resign yesterday. At first glance, I thought he did, but no, if you listen carefully, he's just got the Governor General to dissolve Parliament so he can sort of rule at will for at least the next 90 days and perhaps longer. So that's a quick update from Canada.
Well, I want to raise this point. We just saw a few days ago Musk point out something that most Americans don't know. Even a lot of Canadians don't seem to understand this about, quote, commonwealths or countries that really aren't really commonwealths but really still are, that the Governor Generals in places like Canada can dissolve Parliament at the request of the Prime Minister. And in the UK, the King of England and his council, Privy Council, can do it. And so that's very important for people to understand. So he says he'll resign, but as I was alluding to, and you went into the technicals, that's so they can try to put their people in the interim, and who knows what other draconian type of executive orders put in place. He's the guy that famously said he admires Xi Jinping in China because it's a basic dictatorship and can get things done. This is a true totalitarian that we're dealing with. So for people that don't understand that, let's walk back through specifically what Trudeau did. Because I mean, what's the headline there? I think that's what people need to. Trudeau pulls a fast one, doesn't really resign in plan to rule as a dictator in interim. I mean, this is sensational.
Well, there are still some checks and balances on him. He's still subject to the courts and things like that. But our Parliament is like your Congress, and our Parliament was about to vote non-confidence in him, which would basically force an election call. I suppose an analogy would be, it would be as if your Congress was about to impeach the president and then remove him. So it was that dramatic. Trudeau was going to be fired by hundreds of legislators, even in his own party. That's what's so interesting, Alex. Even liberals were sick of him, which is quite incredible. So he preempted them. He had a sneak attack. He said, I'm not letting you get together to vote me out. It would be as if Bill Clinton in some way, right before he was about to be impeached, had some power to dissolve Congress. That's what Trudeau did. Literally tomorrow, his own party caucus was set to meet and demand that he quit.
Okay, so I understand your parliamentary system. I've studied it, but I know you know a lot more than I do because it's very complex. That's why our founders went with our system, because they'd seen the parliaments in the UK and other places. Quantify it then, because a headline says it all, and I'm going to put this out. Quantify it. Trudeau pulls a fast one, doesn't really resign in desperate bid to maintain his party's control. I mean, this is so bad, how do we quantify it?
I wouldn't even say his party's control, his personal control. He has a disdain even for his own members of parliament, just like his father did. Remember his father, Pierre Trudeau, who was a Marxist also, an anti-American, pro-Cuba Marxist. You got to remember that Justin Trudeau comes by his communism, honestly. He inherited from his father. During the Cold War, Pierre Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada for 16 years, was always a thorn in the side. He took his kids to Siberia during the Soviet Union and said, this is the future. Justin Trudeau and his brother, Alexandre, who's his foreign policy advisor, they love communist China. In fact, they've tried to remove Canada from an American orbit and put it in a Chinese orbit.
And we've had his other brother on that, points out he's really a bad guy. So help me, because this is so huge. And that's why I wanted to get you on, because I knew he was doing it as a manipulation to try to have more power. How long can he hang on? But that's the second question. Give me the headline, because it's not just a headline for this interview we put it out. I need to understand what you're saying. I mean,
I would say don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Trudeau didn't actually resign. Now, and to make sure he couldn't be fired, he got the Governor General to dissolve Parliament at least until March 24th. So on March 24th, the Parliament will resume. And maybe they will be able to vote non-confidence in him. But I got one more wrinkle here for you. Justin Trudeau has never actually been as popular as he would pretend and as the media would suggest. In fact, in the last Canadian election, he only got 33% of the vote. How can you win a government with 33% of the vote? Well, he didn't really. He had what we call a minority government. So he has had a dirty deal with the outright Socialist Party in Canada to give him a working majority. He wouldn't have enough votes to do anything if he didn't have his allies in that hard left-wing party. They finally got sick of him too. That's why Trudeau panicked. But Trudeau has 90 days to kiss and make up with the socialists to perhaps live on. I got one more thing to tell you about. It's a bit of a warning. If Trudeau's time is up, and I think in the end he will be forced out. He can only hide for so long. I think he'll be forced out before the end of the summer. But that's an awful lot of time for him to do a lot of damage, like I say, through executive orders, through appointments. And we don't have the same check and balances as you Americans do. So Trudeau can make appointments. We don't have a vacancy on our Supreme Court right now, but we have 8 vacancies on our Canadian Senate. Trudeau can appoint those. They're not elected in Canada. Imagine stacking 8 of your buddies in the Senate. He can make all sorts of appointments, all sorts of sole source contracts. He can shove hundreds of millions of dollars out the door, including, by the way, to the World Economic Forum. Justin Trudeau was the pride of the World Economic Forum. I got one last thing to tell you, and you're going to find this hard to believe. Early in Justin Trudeau's term, he was elected in 2015. In January 2016, he went to Davos. He met George Soros there in person. And he came to an agreement with Soros to have a contract to outsource Canadian immigration and refugee policy to the Open Societies Foundation in New York City. He literally signed a contract to give George Soros in America control over Canadian immigration policy. They signed the contract. Now,
Ezra, I actually knew that, but the public doesn't, even in Canada. Elon just discovered yesterday what I exposed decades ago, what Lou Dobbs really, who I first learned it from in 2005-06. People don't know that in the EU and even under Democrats in the United States and all over the world, that they get the State Departments of countries or its counterpart to sign on to his NGO that controls the sub-NGOs that Trump and Tom Homan have said they're going to criminally go after because they're given the administrative control. You go to the Texas border, it is the big Soros NGOs running it, ordering the Border Patrol and National Guard around. So I know that, you know that, but Elon investigated it yesterday and said, I can't believe this. It's actually true about the UK. Keir Starmer, they've given off and on full control to Soros. These Zodiac boats coming into Spain, coming into Italy, coming into Greece. The Zodiac boats coming across from France, across the English Channel, into the White Cliffs of Dover. That's all these Soros NGOs. And as you said, specifically with Canada, directly with the top NGO, not even the sub-NGOs. But as people awaken to this, now we can see it get dislodged.
You mentioned Keir Starmer. That's the new Labour Prime Minister who's been in power since July. Ironically, their election was the 4th of July, Alex. I don't know if you've seen the clip. I bet you have because you're a voracious reader. But Keir Starmer was once asked which he prefers, Westminster, that's what they call their parliament, or Davos. Have you ever seen that clip?
Yes.
It's incredible. And he said he prefers Davos because, I forget and then he went on to explain it a bit. He said because he likes the crowd better, it's easier to get things done. The new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom literally said he prefers to do business in a secretive crypto government in Switzerland.
We'll pull the clip up. I haven't seen it in a few months. It's Keir Starmer prefers Davos. That will pull the clip up. Keep going. I want to come back and talk about Starmer, talk about Musk, talk about Trump's agenda, talk about Trump, and his thing about Canada, economic deal, and more. But getting back to Trudeau's, people want to hear this. Mm-hmm. And I understood some of this. That's why I wanted to ask you. But this is sensationally bad that the media is acting like he's going to be gone all of a sudden, but really he's got all these manipulations. What do we need to do? What do you need to do in Canada? What are the mechanisms to put heat on him and get the fact out there that he's pulled a fast one?
I think he can't hold on forever. We know he can hold on for 90 days. The Governor General will recall Parliament on March 24th. Then the question will be, has Trudeau managed to do another deal with the Socialist Party? And he always has. He's been able to do that deal basically for 9 years. I think Trudeau's own Liberals, believe it or not, a lot of them don't like Trudeau anymore. Not that they changed their mind on policy. It's just that they see he's low in the polls. Right now, Justin Trudeau is at 16%, 16% in the polls. He's blown everything up. Alex, not only has he wrecked the economy, inflation, high housing prices, high grocery prices, not only has he quadrupled immigration, but he's put us on the wrong side internationally. He's anti-American. Trudeau is anti-Trump for sure. He's pro-China. He's put us against India, the world's largest democracy.
It's great reset.
Absolutely, and Trudeau uses that language. Hey, Alex, I don't know if you remember a year ago when I was in Davos. Every year Rebel News goes to Davos for the World Economic Forum. We're going again. I'm going to pop by Washington for the inaugural, but then I'm flying directly to Switzerland because I love covering the World Economic Forum. They've refused to accredit us inside, but we report on the outside. I know we got to take a break in 30 seconds, but remember what I told you last year. I said the only two names on everyone's lips were Trump and Musk. Trump because he's going to smash their New World Order, and Musk because he's going to enable it through freedom of speech. They saw early the threat of Trump and Musk. It'll be fascinating to see what they have to say days after the inaugural.
Oh, they're going to be like chickens with their heads cut off. Stay there. Ezra Levant is on fire. Rebelnews.com. Stay with us. My fellow Americans, my fellow info warriors, We are announcing something right now that is one of the most exciting things we've ever done in the history of financing the InfoWar. We have launched at the AlexJonesStore.com an affiliate program where you get 10% paid out each month at the AlexJonesStore.com. You just go sign up. It's free. You get the link. You add it to other posts you make, or you can post links to the products, the T-shirts, the ball caps, just all of it, the supplements. And when people buy, you get 10%. This is so exciting. This is revolutionary. The globalists absolutely hate it. Make money while you fight to keep the truth on the air and get people great products. A total 360 win at thealexjonesstore.com. We are witnessing the global revolution against the New World Order death cult go into escape velocity like a heavy starship lifting off, first moving just a few feet a second, and then accelerating to 30,000 miles an hour into the blue yonder of space. Unstoppable velocity. We are on the cusp of the beginning of total victory. Freedom is contagious. Courage is contagious. And I am so honored with this incredible audience of activists worldwide to be the heart of the resistance. This is history. This is important. This is our entire children's and progeny's future, and we are taking control of our destiny back from the globalists. People look at adult men painting themselves up and screaming and yelling at sports games, and they say, that's what a man does. No, you're supposed to get excited about standing up for your family, your country, your freedom. Ezra Levant, I want to play a short clip because you can't play it up with Trudeau a few years ago saying he admires Communist China and their basic dictatorship to get things done. And now he's done this ploy saying he's going to resign and brought in the governor general in a gamble to try to stay in power. And the media is not really even picking it up. But the New York Times says, oh, he's hurting his party by doing this. They understand that him trying to hold on in the end will only make it worse. And looks like that party may be extinct after this and never get back into power. I tend to agree with that. They're not saying that, obviously, trying to help liberty. They're saying it because it's damaging the establishment. I think Keir Starmer trying to hold on to power will have the same effect. We'll get into Davos, what's coming up, incredible coups you've had confronting the world leaders when you catch them outside, not just in government, but in industry like Albert Bourla of Pfizer and more in a moment. But first, here's that clip of Trudeau.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
Oh, how nice. So, Ezra, you got interrupted by the break. You were getting into Davos. We have the clip of Keir Starmer in a moment also saying what you said. I mean, this is truly disgusting. But Starmer himself, talk about a villain. You couldn't create one in fiction like this. 15 years as a magistrate, the head CPS magistrate, literally in whole states of England, no prosecutions in a year with thousands of rapes per town, and then prosecuting people that exposed it. And people that don't know Tommy Robinson's 15-year saga, watching this next to his business in a little town and having his own family targeted by the Islamic rape gangs and being persecuted, and this entire battle year at a film exposing it, now in prison for it, in solitary confinement. And just there's so much to talk about here with Ezra Levant. Please continue.
You know, remember a few months ago, there was a stabbing in the United Kingdom. It was a little girl's Taylor Swift-themed play date. And an Islamic extremist burst in and started stabbing and murdering, injured a bunch of girls, murdered 3. It was an atrocious disaster. It was an Islamic attack. Everyone knew it. And immediately, Keir Starmer suppressed everything and said that the police went to work prosecuting, charging, convicting, jailing anyone who had tweeted about it, anyone who claimed it was an Islamic attack. By the way, it was. He was a convert to Islam, but he was Islamic. Keir Starmer set up something I've never seen in my life before, Alex, at least not in a free country. He immediately set up 24-hour-a-day courts. Like, he just snapped his finger and it was done. And they bam, 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 arrested hundreds of people for tweeting, for posting on Facebook or Instagram things like, I don't feel safe anymore, or our police aren't even on our side anymore. And the police started boasting about who they had jailed. And the stories were crazy, like gesticulating at a cop or shouting at a police dog. Now, I don't think you should shout at a dog.
They're giving people 7-year prison sentences that criticize the Islamic murder of the taxi cab driver.
Less than some of these rapists get. But my point is, Keir Starmer, when he wants to enforce the law, he's brutal. Like, have you ever heard of someone setting up 24-hour-a-day courts just to ram through maximum number of, and these are white working class Brits who, I mean, they have DEI hardwired in their country. And that's the problem with these rape gangs. It was, and I don't know if you've seen the clip by Majid Nawaz on LBC Radio Network. Should be easy to find. He talks about why they got away with it. Majid Nawaz is a British Pakistani man. And he says because it was Pakistani men raping working class white girls, everyone was afraid to talk about it for fear of being called racist. And so Tommy Robinson filled the void because all the official people were too afraid to. In the end, believe it or not, some Pakistani Muslim men in the UK said, well, you can't, call me racist. I'm going to talk about it. Majid Nawaz talks about it. They actually appointed a prosecutor who was a Pakistani Brit himself. Everyone's so afraid of calling it out. They've allowed hundreds of thousands of girls to be raped because no one wanted to say anything lest they be called racist. That is woke policing, woke journalism, woke social welfare. Everyone knew what was going on, Alex, but no one dared say it. That's what Elon Musk has detonated. And that's why Twitter is so important, X is so important, because they finally can't censor it anymore. And we'll see if Zuckerberg is true to his word when he says he's going to liberate again. But I think the rejuvenation of freedom of speech through social media is the most important freedom victory of our lifetime. And you yourself are a fruit of that. They tried to unperson you, and now you're back, baby, and I love to see it.
Well, absolutely, and it's the right thing to do to expose all these pedophile rings, not just the Islamic ones, and now the intelligence agencies have been caught everywhere involved in it, but England has been known for decades as ruling using the pedophile rings. And Jimmy Savile and just all the cover-ups and the BBC and all of it, and Keir Starmer at the heart of this for decades. And then Tommy exposes it and makes a film about it, and they order him not to release it, and then they throw him in jail. But when he was sent to prison, it had like 40 million views. Now it's up to, what, 200 million last time I checked, just one version of his film silenced. So it's not going well, but in solitary confinement, I know he's done one interview, and we've played some of the audio. We'll play some in a moment, but this is really rough. The last time he was in solitary confinement for a year and a half ago, 5 years ago he got out, he lost like 35 pounds, and he's not a fat guy. I mean, this is hardcore. Let's talk about Tommy. I know you're going to be over there soon interviewing here. You were kind enough to invite me to go. I may be able to go, but I'm pinned down here battling their ongoing attempts to shut down InfoWars. And I've been so busy, I haven't given updates on that. There's been big developments, but soon I'll have some time. But we're not that important when it comes to that. Plus, we have backup Alex Jones Network. But, I mean, talk about how Tommy's doing.
Sure. Well, remember, he is a civil prisoner. That's an unusual thing. Normally, we think someone in prison is a criminal that committed a crime. In this case, as you properly point out, he's in prison because he showed a movie that a judge said, don't you do that. The judge issued an order to Tommy saying, don't publish that movie. And Tommy said, I'm a journalist at heart. The research speaks for itself. I'm going to publish it. And so the judge says, all right, we're going to hold you in contempt of court. I was there when he was sentenced. And at that point in time, I think it had 55 million views on X. And the judge says, I'm going to throw the book at you. If you take it down now, I'll lop 3 months off your sentence. And Tommy refused. He was so committed to his freedom and to that message, he literally said, do your worst. And the judge did. The judge gave him the maximum sentence allowed under law, which for a civil prisoner is unheard of, literally unprecedented. But here's how it gets worse. Like I say, civil prisoners, so you have more rights than a criminal prisoner. You get to wear your own clothes. You have more visitors, etc. It's sort of like, I don't know, it would be like in America if you didn't pay child support, or if you got in trouble for not having a fishing license. Like, it's breaking the law, but it's not a crime. But because Tommy is a target of prison gangs, the prison doesn't know what to do with them. So they emptied out their solitary confinement ward, 16 cells, and they put Tommy in one of them. So he's there in solitary confinement. I mean, I suppose he's safe from the prison gangs, but he's in the worst part of the prison. They only let him out once a day for exercise and to have a shower. And you go crazy. I mean, he will serve at least 9 months in solitary. You cannot do 9 months of solitary, Alex. And remember, he's supposed to have the lightest form of imprisonment because he's not even there as a criminal. He is being put, you know what solitary is really for? That's where you put someone who's in prison already and he gets into a fight or he threatens a guard. How do you punish a guy who's already in prison? You put him in the hole, or down the block, as they say in the UK. You don't put him down the block or in the hole for 9 months because you don't know what else to do with him. He'll go mad. It is a form of psychological torture, and he's about 2 months in now. So one of the things we're doing at Rebel News is we're crowdfunding a prison lawyer to take the prison to court, and we're hoping to get that happening fairly quickly. We have to go through certain processes, but we're trying to get Tommy out of solitary. That in itself should be, whether you like Tommy or not, the fact that a journalist is in solitary confinement for publishing a movie should cause everyone around the world concern, even if you disagree with the movie.
You're absolutely right. Let's talk about Elon Musk here for a minute. The total game changer, just devastating the open borders, devastating the depopulation plan, devastating the poison shots, devastating the worldwide pedophile rings, ramming Trump over the top despite all the censorship and fraud. And then I noticed he's being attacked a lot by the so-called right wing, who are talking about how the strong man could have done better. I'm concerned about Musk making statements about, well, we're going to use an algorithm against negativity because you can define that even worse, and misapply it like you can do fake news. I think leaving it free and open is what has made X explode, me number one, which obviously it has. Zuckerberg's now capitulating, saying he's going to copy Musk. I don't know if that's going to be true. We're going to test it today or tomorrow. Going back on Facebook, I think he's going to ban me right away, but we'll continue to push him, kind of like Musk got pushed to bring me back about 13 months ago. But just in general, the game changer, Elon Musk, and now Trump in that press conference, incredible today. I mean, looking at history here, this is really right now the moment that the whole globalist system went from being on total defense, falling apart in deep trouble, to sinking, and it is the beginning of the final end of them, in my view. But I am concerned, if you talk about Elon, about what the globalists are going to do to try to maintain power. They're trying to launch new pandemics. They're trying to accelerate war with Russia. They're doing a lot of things.
You know what? And look at Europe. They're in full panic mode. Keir Starmer of the UK, Emmanuel Macron of France, Norway, Germany, all these countries are basically saying, how dare an American interfere? But what's Musk actually done other than speak? And so if an American in America, speaking on an American social platform, if these Europeans think they can somehow punish Elon Musk, all he's done in those countries is speak. He wrote an op-ed in a German newspaper, Die Welt, and that the editor resigned. They're in a fury. The Europeans don't know how to handle Musk because they can't bully him through lawfare and overregulation now that Trump's around. It's a wonderful combination, and I say again, the World Economic Forum knew the challenge to them a year ago. They were ahead of the curve. They knew that tag team of Musk and Trump would spell their end. Hey, let me talk just for 1 second about Canada, because I know time's limited here, but let me tell you what Trudeau, one of his legacies. Canada's a proud place. Canada has a great history. I mean, we conquered. We developed a cold northern country. During D-Day, we had our own beach, Juno Beach. There was Utah and Sword and all the others. Canada was punching above our weight. I think Canada has a lot to be proud of, but Trudeau doesn't agree. He started to deracinate our country, to cut the roots. He said we were a post-national country. I don't know if you know that, Alex. He said there's no core ideas in Canada. And then he went from saying we're nothing positive to saying we were negative. He accused Canada of committing genocide against the Indigenous people. Trudeau removed our founding prime minister, Sir John A. Macdonald, from the $10 bill. That would be like removing George Washington from the U.S. bill. Could you imagine doing that? And Trudeau turned our military into like a stunt. He would send them just really for photo ops. So Trudeau has spent almost 10 years saying Canada means nothing. Anyone can come here. We'll give anyone a passport. Anyone's welcome in immigration. So for 10 years, he's destroyed nationalism and pride and patriotism. And here's what's happened in the last month. Donald Trump said, oh, really? So you don't have an identity, eh? You're post-national. Well, why don't you join us? We can be rich together. Makes a lot of sense, a lot of cultural congruity. And so many Canadian liberals are panicking. Oh, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. You were the one who said Canada didn't have any essence, that we were salt, that had lost its saltiness. So what's amazing is Donald Trump's tweets. That's all Trump's done. He sent a few tweets poking at Trudeau, calling Canada the 51st state. And all these liberals are outraged. Really? Well, maybe you found your nationalism and your patriotism again. And all it took was Donald Trump. What do you think of that?
And that's exactly what Trump wants. And then I said this weeks ago, then he has Kevin O'Leary and others come out and say, actually, we just want to do more economic deals with you. He first puts the pressure on with the threat of tariffs to get their attention. And then now he's like, hey, let's be successful together. Let me hit this because you mentioned it about Keir Starmer, Ezra, in closing. They've come out and said it's disinformation, which is an open-ended term to say that Elon is lying, which everything he's saying is true. He's just documenting, putting court documents up and clips for the House of Lords and witnesses and admissions and all of it. And then they come out and say, well, you're meddling in our elections. So are the Germans, as you just mentioned. But it's the EU coming and trying to do billion-dollar fines on Musk and all the rest of it. Musk has been forced to go over there and point out the tyranny, and it's a good thing. America's supposed to be promoting freedom worldwide, and in Germany, a woman gets raped, and the Islamicist doesn't get in trouble, and she gets prison time for pointing out he's an illegal alien. But then Soros was billed by The Guardian and the Times of London as a hero trying to stop.
And Bill Gates is over there, too. Bill Gates just met with Keir Starmer a few weeks ago.
Exactly. So this idea is preposterous. So here's some of the headlines. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer may cut Britain's security ties with the U.S. unless Trump distances himself from Musk. That's panic mode. The Guardian's view of Musk and the UK politics, interference in plain sight. So that's what they just said a couple days ago. Well, here it is. Here's all the Soros headlines out of The Guardian, how Soros is helping, and Soros is a friend of the UK to stop the evil nationalists. So there they are openly saying a few years ago, oh, we want this to happen. Globalist stooge George Soros is trying to save the UK from itself. I called him a stooge. Vanity Fair was, it was a good thing. Suddenly globalists exist. Globalist George Soros is trying to save the UK from itself. London Guardian, right here, George Soros, Brexit hurts both sides. My money was used to educate the British public. So that's all good. That's all wonderful. But the truth is, nobody is buying into it. I don't think Keir Starmer is going to be able to hang on long. What do you think, Ezra Levant?
Well, look, he just had his election on the 4th of July, so he's pretty early in his term. But the Brits have a similar parliamentary system to the one we have here. So it's possible for the members of parliament in his own party to chuck him out. Now, I don't think they're at that point yet. They got to get a little bit more scared about losing the next election. But he has plummeted in the polls. He's tone deaf. He really is a bad politician. And he's, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but he's decided to take on the farmers. I don't know if you saw that. They had a massive farmers rally in the heart of London because Starmer wants to put a massive inheritance tax on farms, so you couldn't give it from father to son. Oh,
that's all part of the WEF public plan in the Netherlands, Ireland, Sri Lanka to get rid of half the farms. John Kerry, the climate czar, said it last year. He said, we need to cut half the farming or people will starve. That's oxymoronic. I need to strangle you or you'll suffocate. I mean, it's just amazing. And they're up in arms, and Bill Gates wants to genetically engineer all the cows so they don't fart methane. I mean, this is crazy.
So Keir Starmer's making every mistake he can, but just yesterday he had a press conference where he said anyone who's worried about these rape gangs is, quote, far right. And that's their phrase for alt-right or racist. That's how they say it in the UK. But and there are some really right-wing folks who don't like it, but there's a lot of left-wing folks and there's a lot of non-political folks. The girls, and they're girls, they're not women. These are girls as young as 9. They're not.
Yeah, so that's like Biden calling Trump supporters garbage. It's totally backfired.
Yeah, and I'm worried about Nigel Farage. I like Nigel Farage. I love the fact he got Brexit done. I love the fact that he's fighting against debanking. He was debanked, and he made a fuss about it, and he really took on the banks. I love Nigel Farage, but I think he's a little too worried about peer pressure. So instead
he's saying they got to capitulate to Muslims, and Tommy Robinson's not good. It's insane. Ezra Levant will be following your work in D.C. on inauguration and on Davos. Maybe I'll be there with you. Ezra, rebelnews.com. Incredible job. Thank you so much.
See you later, my friend.
Amazing. That guy is so smart. We love him. Wow. His team is so incredible. I have been so busy covering the news and all the insane developments that I did not look at the biggest, most amazing sales ever from the great folks at Bigley that power our sponsor site, thealexjonesstore.com. So let me read off to you the specials that are going right now. The F-250 giveaway trimmer ends Wednesday, the 8th, coming up in just 4 days or less than 4 days. Also, we have a 25% special running right now, site-wide, no code needed, and 10x entries for every dollar spent on top of the regular sales that are going. And free $6 store credit with no minimum spend, 10x entries for the truck every time you buy something as well. Free $6 store credit with no minimum spend, 10x entries. And then the last day, free limited edition black InfoWars hat with every order, no minimum spend, and 10x entries on the last day for the truck. And there's a bunch of other specials. The current 5 limited edition fundraiser posters, the sale on those will end, and we won't make any more on January 6th as well. So these big sales are going, but they're flash sales right now at thealexjonesstore.com. The very best supplements, incredible Patriot apparel, some of the best designs, and certainly the widest selection anywhere of 4 groups I break it into. Classic Patriot 1776 gear, Alex Jones InfoWars S gear, pro-Trump gear, and Patriot comedy limited edition t-shirts, hoodies, ball caps, you name it, because there's over 300 designs right now, but the designs come and go. Now, some of the t-shirts will always be for sale as long as the AlexJonesStore.com is there, that are classics, but most of them are limited edition, one time that you can get, like we had at Christmas or like we had at Halloween. So you want to visit the store every few days because there's so many amazing products. And then the most important thing is your own health. Ultimate Sea Moss. Sea Moss is the ultimate superfood, the best iodine, all the best vitamins and minerals. The way God, made Irish Sea Moss, it just does incredible things for your energy, your stamina, your libido, your focus, your immune system, inflammation, you name it. And speaking of inflammation, we have another incredible superfood, and that is turmeric with the other concentrated superfood of ginger and black pepper concentrate. Incredible what it does for your body. I'm on it all. People can see how healthy I am. It is amazing. So be sure and get the ultimate turmeric formula as well, and so many other game-changing supplements of the very best out there, private labeled from top firms out there. So it's the best and the very strongest at the lowest price you're going to find for this quality, and it keeps the broadcast on air. The bad guys have tried to shut us down with 3 big events in the last 7 months, and we've barely survived each time because of your support and because of you praying and taking action. And they're trying in the next few weeks to shut us down again. People are like, wow, you survived 3 times. Well, I'm not taking anything for granted. That's why we set up the AJN network in case the InfoWars studios get shut down. I'm shooting that from right there today. So we need your support. Plus, these are great products. It's all available at thealexjonesstore.com. We're changing the world together. Go check out thealexjonesstore.com today, and be sure, if you're going to buy anything to support the broadcast and great products, that you become a VIP member. It's $30 a month, cancel anytime, month to month, and you get $40 to spend in the store. So you make money. If you're going to be buying things in the store, you make money by being a VIP. You get special discounts, special offers, special sales, all sorts of stuff if you're a member at thealexjonesstore.com. Thank you all for keeping us on the air. Now check out thealexjonesstore.com right now.